Hi, I'm Joel Bloom, president of New Jersey Institute of Technology. At NJIT, we believe that not only our students, but all citizens need to be informed about the issues facing higher education. As New Jersey's Science and Technology University, NJIT is proud to support the important programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. Wells Fargo, NJM, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and more, with a focus on safety and financial stability. NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department, Verizon, and by Summit Medical Group, a physician-owned multi-specialty medical practice serving northern and central New Jersey in 70 locations.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No. People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Steve Adubato. It is my pleasure to introduce for the first time here on One-on-One Amy Herman. She is the author of Visual Intelligence and also the president and founder of The Art of Perception. Good to have you, Amy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Visual intelligence is?
Visual intelligence is the ability to differentiate between seeing and observing, thinking about all the information that you're seeing, letting your brain process it, and being able to communicate effectively what it is you see.
Example.
Example.
Well, I'm an example person.
When you are on the street, or we have a built-in system in New York City in the subway. You can practice this on the subway all the time. Some people like to get on the subway, put the buds in their ears, and drown everything out. But the real observer is going to be sitting there. Every time the doors open, they're going to see who gets on, who gets off. Am I safe? How do I get on? How do I get off? It's called situational awareness. And we need to know where we are at all times, and better yet, how we can communicate what our situational awareness is in relationships, on the subway, in the classroom, and most importantly, at work.
So it's so interesting. You've consulted for police organizations and who else? FBI?
Yep, FBI.
CEOs, ER doctors, teachers, librarians, parents, and others.
Department of Defense, Special Operations, first responders, hospitals, lawyers, librarians. And when I give you that list across the professional spectrum, I have this unique view through a lens, and I see all these people doing their jobs, and I realize they already all have good observation and perception skills. What's falling apart is their ability to effectively communicate what they see, and it's hurting them on the job. So I'm using visual art as the data to try to bridge that gap between what they see and what they communicate and what they type.
Visual art. Let's put up, Jen Eichlin, our executive producer. Jen, put up a piece of art and you'll explain to us.
Excellent. This is a slide that I use in almost all my presentations, whether it's cops or ER doctors, and I tell them that it's a handsome woman of the 18th century, Mrs. Hannah Winthrop, and I tell them it's probably the most important slide in my whole presentation. Now, what could be so important about the slide? What do you see in the slide?
I don't know.
You see a woman.
I see a woman.
With a hat on.
Yes.
She has a bow in her hat. She has a bow on her dress. It's a blue silk dress, lace on her sleeve.
Yes.
She's sitting in a red upholstered chair, and she's holding two pieces of fruit in each. She's holding a piece of fruit in each hand. And you think, what could that possibly have to do with intelligence or with law enforcement? The problem with the picture is in the bottom one quarter, you see that mahogany table?
Yes.
And the reflection in the mahogany table of the lace and of the skin of her forearm and of her fingers and even the stem of the nectarine.
Is that a woman?
It is a woman. People raise the question.
Go ahead,
It is a woman, glad you raised the question. But the problem is if I asked 10 people to describe the picture to me, more than 5 of them would omit the mahogany table. And you say, so what? Who cares about the table?
Why does the table matter?
The table matters because it's hiding in plain sight. It's something that's right in front of us, and we just choose not to see it. How many times have you said to a colleague or a friend, how did I miss that? And it was hiding right in plain sight. So I'm trying to teach the participants in my class and the readers of my book, step back, ask yourself, is there something here I'm missing? And better yet, ask your colleagues, here's my situation, what am I missing? Because someone else might see the table.
And I can put up the next one, Jen.
All right, here we have a painting from the Frick collection, where I used to work, one of my favorite paintings in the world. And you look at these two women and you say, how would you describe to me what's happening? We have all kinds of things happening. We have dialogue, we have some kind of conversation. And if you notice, the woman in yellow who's seated is turned towards the woman in brown, and she has her hand raised to her chin. Is she questioning? Is she being interrupted? What is the woman in brown handing to the woman in yellow? And when I work with intelligence analysts, I ask them, what are 3 questions that are not answered by your visual analysis? Because when you're in surveillance, when you're at crime scenes, it's not about finding answers, it's about how you ask questions. How do you frame your questions to elicit the information that you need to do your job? So I'm using these works of art as a whole new set of data to show people what they're seeing and what they're missing.
In our relationships, why does this matter?
You know, I wish I had a dime for every time someone came up to me after the class and said, you know, I can't wait to use this on the job, but I really can't wait to use it when I go home to my wife or my husband, because while I talk about seeing versus observing, there's also hearing versus listening. We all hear our partners, but are we listening to them? And the idea of communicating what you see, what you say to your spouse, may not be what you really mean. And I'm asking people to choose their words wisely because every word counts.
For example?
For example, I show 2 pictures, and one is of a very large woman and one is a very thin woman. And I once had a doctor say, yeah, the woman in the bottom picture, she's morbidly obese, and the woman in the top picture is perfectly healthy. And I said, you know, doctor, believe it or not, can you look at a picture and tell me someone's perfectly healthy?
Why use the word perfectly healthy?
Perfectly is highly subjective.
Yeah.
Because in his eyes, he saw this very thin, very sort of subjectively beautiful, enticing woman. She was naked, she has her hands behind her back. And I said to him, perfectly healthy is so highly subjective. How do you know she's not deaf? How do you know she doesn't have a blood disorder? And he realized that his choice of words was poor. And the reason it's so important is because very, very few things are 100% in our control. Choice of words is one of them.
Then why is it that we often use the words, you always, you never do this across the board? And the other person often reacts to that.
Because they're words of assumption. And the other words that I ask my class to refrain from using are obviously and clearly. Because we live and work in a very complex world.
It's obviously true that...
Exactly, and people say it all the time. And you listen to the news. When one of those planes disappeared, they say, well, obviously it's terrorism. There's nothing obvious about it. Or clearly there was mechanical failure. Why is it clear? So rather than saying it's obviously a case of X, I ask people to say, it appears to me to be a case of X because of Y and Z. It forces them to be more descriptive, and you're not assuming what the other person does and doesn't know.
And you're telling people to say, listen, the only thing you can be sure of is that's how you see it.
Yes, that's exactly.
Not that that's the way it is. Someone says, no, that's the way it is.
No. And what I tell them, because in all these professions, it behooves them to seek out multiple perspectives, because they'll make better decisions when they realize that that's not the way it is and there are other ways to see things.
Wow. That's an awful lot to be thinking about, folks, but it's important, not just in terms of our work, but in terms of our relationship with others. The book is called Visual Intelligence, Sharpen Your Perception, Change Your Life. The author is Amy E. Herman. Amy, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're a great guest.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. I can't say we'll always be back, but we're usually back.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Christy Tighe is Education and Training Specialist at Junior Achievement of New Jersey. Good to see you, Christy.
Nice to be here.
If folks who do not know what Junior Achievement is, tell them.
Well, we are an organization. We're actually a global organization. We've been around 100 years. And our mission is to inspire and prepare young people to succeed in a global economy. But what we really do is we change lives. We have fantastic programs, and we build business education partnerships, and we help young people to succeed in the future.
Let's talk about how that happens, because you have some terrific corporate sponsors who also are very supportive of the public broadcasting world, and that's how we got to know your organization. Actually started in 1919. Check this out.
Yep.
Been around a long time, doing great stuff. But and by the way, 62,000 students across the state participating. In what kinds of programs?
We have programs for kindergarten through 12th grade. And our programs vary. We focus on financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship. So the majority of our programs really focus on those 21st century skills, things that students and young people need to be successful in life but aren't always taught in schools. And we do this through those business education partnerships that you mentioned by exposing students to real-world scenarios, real-world situations.
Give us an example. Is the financial literacy, what happens?
Yes. Well, as you probably know, financial literacy is a graduation requirement here in the state of New Jersey. And we have a fantastic program called JA Finance Park, which actually provides fantastic financial literacy curriculum taught by teachers in the classroom, which culminates to a visit to JA Finance Park, located in Edison, where students get a real-world experience where they are given a life scenario. Maybe they are 32 years old, they are single, they have 2 kids, and they make $45,000 a year. So they have to figure out what their net monthly income is, and then figure out, okay, how much can I spend on clothing, how much can I spend on housing, how much can I spend on transportation? 18 different ways they have to figure out where they can spend their money. And the great thing about this is that when they come to JA Finance Park, they are seated with a corporate or volunteer mentor. So that person can kind of coach them through the process and help them make wise financial choices.
Wow. That's important. Those are life skills.
It really is. And the kids come away with a whole new vision of what their future is going to look like.
And what are the other 2 areas?
Entrepreneurship and work readiness.
Let's go to entrepreneurship. How do you teach a young person to think and be prepared to be an entrepreneur?
You know, what we really teach is that entrepreneurs are not born, they're made. Anybody can be an entrepreneur if you have a certain skill set. And that really ties into a lot of the work readiness programs that we're focusing on now. What we've been seeing from our partners, especially from the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, the Chamber of Commerce, they're saying that young people really don't have those employability skills that they need to be successful at work. So what a lot of our programs do, especially at the high school level, explains to students why employability skills are important: critical thinking, collaboration, creativity. And our programs really focus on those. It gives students those real-world 21st century learning experiences to help them build those skills so they can be successful no matter what career they end up having.
And what's the last one?
What's the last?
So is financial literacy.
Work readiness and entrepreneurship.
Work readiness.
Yes.
How is that different from entrepreneurship?
Well, they all kind of tie in together. They're all those 21st century skills. You know, it's really up to us to teach kids everything that they can't Google, right?
Yeah.
Kids today live in a completely different world than we did when we were kids. Exactly.
But the other thing that strikes me is we have the Caucus Educational Corporation, our not-for-profit production company, runs a stand and deliver leadership and communication program for young people. And we often focus on their presentation skills.
Yes.
Junior achievement helps young people communicate as well.
Absolutely.
Talk about that.
Absolutely. We give young people experiences where they get to speak in public like that. We take students out of the classroom and into corporate facilities or college campuses, and we give them opportunities to present. And we connect them with people, you know, like you and some of the corporate mentors that we work with.
Isn't it scary for them?
You know, a lot of times it is. A lot of times when we take students, especially from urban areas, and bring them into a beautiful corporate facility like AT&T in Bedminster, right? They come off the bus and they're really nervous. But when they get there, they connect with employees who are really excited to meet with them and learn from them. And they come out of their shell pretty quickly. And a lot of the students that we work with come back and say, you know, no one's ever really asked me those type of questions before. No one's really shown that they believe in my future like that.
You have a young women's leadership initiative. What is it?
Our Women's Future Leadership Forum is a really fantastic program that we've built here in the state of New Jersey that other JA areas across the country are actually emulating. And it's a similar format. We invite 50 young ladies, high school girls from some of the local areas that we work with, and we connect them with 50 female mentors from various organizations and companies. For a day of mentorship, there's a great panel discussion where the girls get to learn from some of the New Jersey's greatest leaders, and then there's a one-on-one discussion where the young ladies get to build their elevator pitch, and then there's a breakout session.
How they present themselves?
Exactly, an elevator pitch, and that's a great thing. A lot of young people don't really know how to network. And so we're giving them the tools to network so that when they are in a situation like that, they can present themselves.
Last question.
Yes.
Our series Lessons in Leadership that people can find on our website causes us to ask leaders like yourself the most significant lesson that they learned about leadership. What's yours?
Wow, the most significant lesson I've learned about leadership, that leadership is shared. Leadership is shared, and when you're a leader, it's all about seeing people around you and inspiring them. And that's really what Junior Achievement does. We inspire young people by bringing leaders to young people and teaching them the skills so that they can become leaders as well.
When did you know that you were going to be a leader?
When did I know that I was going to be a leader?
Or did someone else tell you you were a leader?
Well, it's interesting. I completed the Leadership New Jersey program, and I learned a lot about leadership in that way. And that's kind of how I came to that feeling that leadership is shared. And it's all about the connections that you make. And I don't really think of myself as a leader. I think of myself as a connector. I bring students together, mentors together, and we change people's lives, and that's really the greatest thing I can do.
One of the keys to leadership is connecting people.
Yes.
And that's what Christy Tighe does, education and training specialist at a great organization called Junior Achievement of New Jersey. Thanks so much, Christy.
Thank you for
Stay
having
right
me.
there. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are here at the New Jersey State Nurses Association. These are the EPIC Awards, and two EPIC leaders here. We have Norma Rogers, the president of New Jersey State Nurses Association, and her colleague, Dr. Benjamin Evans, president-elect New Jersey State Nurses Association. It's a great night. Why?
Because we're recognizing community leaders as opposed to just nurses. So it brings in everyone into the organization, it highlights the organization, and it also helps us to recognize those that give so much back in public service and acknowledge them for all they do in that collaboration efforts within healthcare.
And Doctor, you have such an interesting background. You're also connected to Felician. They have a great nursing program. What drew you to this profession?
I was a young fellow in high school and was drawn to religious life. And so as I went into religious life, I looked at nursing as a career. And didn't stay in religious life very long, but I stayed in nursing for 41 years.
Why?
It's just the penultimate career for me. There's so much opportunity. I think that there are so many people that have graced my career, both mentors and leaders, as well as those that I've been fortunate to serve.
I want to ask you the same question. The draw.
The draw? My mother was a nurse. So that was my first initial entry into it. And when I came in, it was more so I wanted to help people. I couldn't decide when I was in high school whether I wanted to be a teacher or a nurse. And when I went for my LPN, the licensed practical nurse first, just to make sure I was going to like nursing, I learned that this is where my passion was. This is where I was meant to be. And when I went back for my RN to Bloomfield, I learned that Bloomfield College, that I had leadership skills that I didn't know that they mentored and nurtured and helped me get to where I am today. And the fact that nursing, I went from the bedside over to corporate life, but I'm still a nurse and will always be a nurse and will always continue to fight for and support the nurses. So it's become a passion for me of this is what I was meant to do.
You know, Dr. Norman talks about the leadership side. At the core, what kind of leadership skills are we talking about that nurses they possess, and they use every day?
Well, I think nurses are very organized. They can set up and deliver care. We are often not consulted about the care, but we have been managing the units and delivering quality care for many, many years.
You really are leaders. You really do make a difference every day. But I gotta ask you, the nursing profession has changed dramatically, particularly post the Affordable Care Act. How so?
Because healthcare is actually moving from the bedside out and back into the community. So we're having a shift where we're going to need more public health nurses, we're going to need more community nurses, but still give all of that support that we need for those inpatient. We're trying to make the America healthier so that we're trying to do more preventative instead of more curative. So I think the more preventative we can do, the less curative we will have to do. So I think it just shifted where we're doing our healthcare, but still keeping the focus on the patient, the community, and then bringing it all back together once again.
And you're also an advanced practice nurse. Translate.
It's a nurse with a master's or doctoral degree who has an additional 2+ years of training in diagnostics and treatment of certain illnesses. My particular specialty is I'm board certified in psychiatric mental health. And so I see folks with the chronic mentally ill.
Greatest reward of being a professional in this field is?
Being with people.
Most rewarding part is?
Helping others and being able to give back and paying it forward to those that are coming up behind me.
Thank you for allowing us to be a part of a very special night. Thank you, Norma.
Thank you, and congratulations to you as being one of our recipients for this year's Epic Award. Looking forward to this evening's events.
That thank you goes to all of us in public television who, in fact, are part of this. That is why we are being honored. Fair to say, Doctor?
Yes, indeed. Congratulations, Steve.
We're at the New Jersey Nurses Association, and we're here with one of our Epic Award honorees, Linda Gable, who is a nurse practitioner in Bloomfield. And your area of practice is psychiatry. Talk about that.
Well, in psychiatry, what we're trying to do is diagnose a problem. If we have to order any labs, we want to rule out any medical problems and then try to find the right combination of medications for the particular patient. So this is an everyday occurrence, and there are so many people out there who have suffered with depression, schizophrenia, and we really just try to be there for them and be non-judgmental, because that's a big thing that's important for them, because everybody's always judging. But we are non-judgmental, and so we're here to help.
How'd you decide on nursing as a profession?
I decided that I wanted to help people in my community. So I got a little distracted by going into the Army. Then once I got out, I got back on track. And now I'm out there doing what I set out to do, and that's to help people.
But the psychiatry piece, talk about that. What kind of patients are we talking about? What are they, talk about what they're really dealing with.
Well, they're really dealing with a lot of socioeconomic problems, lack of money, lack of education, lack of support in the community. So they may come in with some depression, and then we have some who really come in with more serious problems, schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder, which is psychosis, and then they're really not really embedded in what's going on in reality. So we really have to try to find that out and get medication for them so that they can reintegrate into society and be productive members.
But the role of nursing in that, someone might say, well, that's what a physician does. Not necessarily true. You're an advanced practice nurse. You play a huge role there.
I do. As advanced practice nurses, I have master's degrees and doctorate like myself. So we have advanced education. We have 4 to 6 years of advanced education. And this is to build us so that we can get to that point. So it's not just physicians anymore. Nurse practitioners, psychologists, there are a lot of us out there who want to help, and we just don't take the physician's same route to provide that care.
Most rewarding part about your work is?
Oh, I love what I do, so it makes it very easy to do. And it's great when I can see somebody go from not being in reality to being in reality, to getting a job, to leading a productive life. That's the most rewarding thing that you can do.
We're here with one of the Epic honorees. She is Basirah TaHa. She is with Rutgers University Behavioral Healthcare Services. Talk to us about the role of your organization and the impact you have on the people you serve.
Actually, I'm a community nurse, so I actually go out into people's homes and see them in their home. And I'm on the in the APN initiative, which was started by the state to engage.
APN stands for?
Advanced Practice Nurse. And we were 21 counties, 21 APNs were to go out into the homes to engage patients that would normally be difficult to engage. They didn't want to come in for services, but they needed services. So that's what we do.
What do you mean you actually go out to their homes? I mean, who wouldn't come to a particular healthcare facility?
Some people have diagnoses that prohibit them from coming out. If you have agoraphobia or if you have symptoms that make you fearful of others, then you may not want to attend a session at the hospital. So then you are afforded a visit in your home, in your environment where you feel safe, where you're in control.
Biggest misconception about nursing is? Think about it. People think they know nursing and nurses. You say?
Biggest misconception is that we all are the same, that we don't specialize. So if you say a nurse is a nurse is a nurse.
Not true?
Not true. A psych nurse is not an oncology nurse, is not a cardiac nurse, is not a behavioral health care nurse. So that's the biggest misconception, that we can all do every job equally. That's not true. We're trained generically so that we can, but then once you get out into the field, you decide what is your passion, and that's what you focus on.
Most rewarding part about your work is?
Helping others, of course, serving the people.
Is that why you got into this?
You want the truth?
I want the truth. We're public television. We want the truth.
Want the truth. Okay. So I was a postal worker and wasn't sure how that was going to work out. And somebody said, you'd be a good nurse. Why don't you try it? So 30 years ago, I tried it, loved it, and here I am.
You made the right call.
I made the right call.
Congratulations tonight.
Thank you very much.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by PSE&G, Wells Fargo, NJM, NJIT, Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department, Verizon, and by Summit Medical Group. Promotional support provided by Commerce Magazine, and by NJ Biz, all business, all New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
I think at NJIT there are a lot of smart students.
I came to NJIT for mechanical engineering because with in-state, it's one of probably the top 3 schools for engineering.
It sort of creates a friendly competition where you can learn from them.
It's a great academic school.
I feel I'm being challenged, but at the same time, I love the classes I'm taking.
The atmosphere of being here is like being at an upstart company. It's that same kind of drive, that same kind of passion.